Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a treasure hid in the field, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore, and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away.
A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
You are my servants. Remember your place. We obey you, Majesty. We are honored to toil for you.
The time is right. The harvest will yield. The world swiftly.
A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
Yes, Your Highness. We will obey. You are doing well. Thank you, my king. Let them see the might of the throne. Yes, Your Majesty. Work. Let the land yield its riches. Yes, Your Majesty. I survey my domain. They are toiling as commanded. Yes, Your Majesty. We work until the sun sets. Let them work. The yield today is satisfactory. Keep them working. Yes, Your Majesty.
A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth, and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right, and what I want to get into, all right, with this lesson is dealing with the elect of Israel, are being perfected for rulership, the elect of Israel, all right, because we know the Lord speaks about a remnant in these latter days, that's going to be delivered at the second coming of Yahweh Shai. Okay, and this elect, okay, that's going to be delivered, is being perfected, as the scriptures say, through affliction, through suffering, through sacrifice. All right, we're being perfected, so there was a remnant, that was chosen and predestined before the foundation of the world to go through their process in these latter days, of being perfected, okay, for rulership, you see, because the problem with the planet Earth, okay, no one's ever been perfected, as a ruler, even going to Adam, okay, Adam wasn't perfected, the sons of God in Genesis 6th chapter, they wasn't perfected, okay, which are, the descendants of Adam, all right, through Seth, okay, which eventually, through those sons of God, you will have Noah, okay, which he was likened to a remnant, that was delivered from the destruction, okay, and through Noah, eventually you will get Adam, all right, Isaac and Jacob, like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay, and the tribes, okay, so we're descendants of the sons of God, okay, through that you have, King Solomon, the rulership of King David and King Solomon, okay, but they wasn't perfected, you see, so eventually what we will fall, eventually we will fall, man, okay, because the scriptures say moral right topples a government easy, okay, and in this flesh we're subjugated to moral right, especially as a ruler, you see, so the Lord is perfecting his people for the sake of rulership, beginning with, Yahweh Shai had to be the first one perfected, okay, through his suffering, and then we come after him in this time, okay, beginning with the first fruits, okay, and all our people, all right, will be righteous, as the scriptures say. So let's get into it. Jeremiah 31:31 said, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, okay, showing you that the Lord already had it set up even in the Old Testament, even before, because this was even before the southern kingdom, got taken away captives to Babylon, okay, this was before then. So the Lord already had it set up, showing you that the new covenant was already, okay, in place, okay, the promise of a new covenant was already in place, okay, because we haven't entered the new covenant yet. It's going to happen when we're changed, okay, that's going to be the new covenant. That's going to be us perfected. We're going to be perfect in this new covenant, okay, so we'll be able to, that's why this new covenant is an everlasting covenant, okay. So when you go into Jeremiah 31:31 again, saying, behold, the days come, saying the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, all right, the northern and southern kingdom, all right, the tribes, and showing you that the covenant was always for Israel, okay, the old and the new, all right, and that's why when you go to, all right, the book of Romans chapter 9, and then we'll get that in Hebrews as well, okay, showing you now this is a book written to Israelite foreigners, okay, those that were considered of the uncircumcision, all right. So when you go into Romans 9:3, it said, for I wish that myself, okay, for I could wish that myself were accursed. This is Apostle Paul speaking to, all right, the Israelite foreigners, okay. It says, for I could wish that myself were accursed for Hamashiach, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, okay. So the Apostle Paul, he knows, okay, the audience that he's writing to, okay. Why would he write this to heathens and then say this in verse 4? Because if he's writing this to heathen, there's no purpose even writing to heathens if he's going to say this about Israel, okay. What's the point of him writing to actual heathens if he's going to say this about Israelites, man? So it only makes sense that he's writing to who? Israelites scattered, okay. Romans 9:4, who are Israelites, to whom pertaining the adoption, the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High and the promises. So let's deal with this word adoption first. Okay, then we'll break down the rest of that. But let's deal with this word adoption. Okay, and the audience of the Bible never changed, whom the Most High was speaking to, okay, through his prophets, okay, through the apostles, okay, it never changed.
Strong's G 5206. We are Thesia.
We are
Thesia.
Okay, it says the relationship which the Most High was pleased to establish between himself and the Israelites in preference to all other nations. Okay, so the adoption is for Israelites, and the Lord prefers Israel to all other nations. Okay, and he's shown it all throughout the Bible. Okay, he's shown it all throughout the Bible, man. Because even him punishing us as a people, chastising us as a people, was for the sake of correction, not the sake of destroying us, man. Okay, us being cast off, even that works in our favor, man, because the Lord, all right, has made a remnant appreciate righteousness in these latter days, man. Thirst for righteousness in these latter days. You know, we'll get that. But it says, who are Israelites, to whom pertaining the adoption and the glory, okay, those new bodies, immortality, you see, for everlasting kingdom. Only Israel, all right, is promised that type of glory, man. It says, and the covenants with an S. So the old covenant was for Israel. The new covenant is going to be for Israelites, man. And the giving of the law, okay, the teaching of the law, you know, to these heathens, okay, because the Lord gave us the law. In the new covenant, we're going to be perfected. The law is going to be in us, man, to administer the law throughout the earth, man. You see, the law is not going to be in these heathens, man. They're going to have to be taught the law. You see, but the giving of the law comes from Yahweh Bashim al-Shah directly to his people. Okay? And we failed as a people to administer that law throughout the earth, man. You know, we went after the heathen. We did the exact opposite of what the Heavenly Father intended, man. Okay? So the giving of the law, because the law comes directly from Yahweh Bashim al-Shah to his people. Okay? Matter of fact, let's get a precept on that. Just get a precept on it, you know, and we was giving that law to administer amongst the heathen, and we're gonna do that in its perfection, okay, in the kingdom. All right, let's go on to 149. Let's see. Yeah, Psalms 147 and 19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. As far as his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay? So the Heavenly Father gave us his statutes and judgments. Okay? To what? To administer. All right, first for us to be an example, to live, okay, on how to live, on how to be. Okay, we're supposed to be an example of righteousness. We're supposed to be an example of the Most High's wisdom in the earth, and to minister that amongst these nations, man. You know, because our obedience puts us in rulership, man. And disobedience puts us in slaves, man, in captivity. Okay? So as we're coming back to obedience, because the Lord is prepping us to come into, okay, this new covenant, okay, which is going to be Israel perfected, all right, for rulership. That's why this new covenant is everlasting, because we're going to be changed. Okay? We're going to be perfected. That's why the new covenant is everlasting, man. It says in the glory and the covenant and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises, man. You know, so all these things pertain to Israelites. Okay, so it would make no sense to write to heathen about what? This is everything. The adoption being brought back in. Okay, the covenants, you know, the new covenant that's to come. Okay, the giving of the law, the service of the Most High. All right, Only Israelites directly serve Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. These heathens are going to serve us in the kingdom, man. We're going to be serving our power directly under Yahweh Shah, man. You see, and the promises, man, the promises made to our forefather, okay? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You see? So let's go here and just to show that new covenant spoken of in the Old Testament, well, it's spoken of again here in the book of Hebrews, okay? So you go to Hebrews 6, like Hebrews 8 and 6. It says, but now have he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is a mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. Okay, and this is Yahweh Shai. All right, Moses was a mediator of the first covenant. Okay, which we couldn't uphold. You see? So that first covenant, the fault was within us. Okay, and that's why in the new covenant, what we're going to be changed under this covenant where Yahweh Shai is the mediator. All right, the everlasting covenant. Verse 8, it says, for if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. Verse 8, for finding fault with them. Okay, finding fault with them. And so the new covenant, we're going to be changed. We're going to be perfected. Okay, because we breached the old covenant. We fell short. You see? So the Lord is perfecting us, all right, for this new covenant. When Yahweh Shai comes, they're changing. That's going to be us perfecting for the new covenant. Okay, said, behold, the days come, said the Lord, which the covenant goes back what to an agreement, an alliance. Okay, a contract. You see? It says, behold, the days come, said the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. You see, the same people, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, said the Lord. Okay, when we breached the first covenant, we broke that contract with disobedience. Okay, it said, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them into their hearts. You see? So it's going to be in us. This is us being perfected. You see? And I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people, and it's going to be everlasting. You see? This is going to be an everlasting agreement. And because we're going to be changed, the agreement will never be broken. Okay? Because the fault ain't with the Most High. The fault ain't with the law. The fault is with us. Okay? But since we're going to be changed, this agreement is going to be everlasting. Okay? It says, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know ye the Lord, for all shall know me from least to greatest. So we're not going to have to teach Israelites. Okay? Even the Israelites that are going to be born into the kingdom, they're going to be born perfected. Okay? So we're not going to have camps and sit downs. And no, we're going to be administering the law amongst the heathen, enforcing righteousness amongst the heathen. Okay, that first 1,000 years is going to be a rigorous captivity of the law being enforced in the earth, man. Okay, so let's go here, because it's all, and we're all being perfected through suffering. Even when you go here, let's get this in Hebrews 2. So we're on the path, to being perfected, man. That's why this thing is about continual growth. The Lord constantly putting us in fire, bringing us out, putting us in fire. Okay, He's forging us in righteousness, man. All these captivities, Jake is offended. Jake still talking about slavery. So nigga, you in 2026. Okay, you got Uber Eats and all right, PlayStations. You see, flat screen, nigga. You comfortable as hell. Okay? These captivities that we've served, all right, has been perfecting the elect. You see? See, 2/3, they don't get it. That's why they say the dumbest shit 2026 right now. Okay, because they're not being perfected. The Lord not dealing with them, man. But there's a remnant, man. The Lord is constantly toiling with. He's working with. Okay, he's molding us. He's forging us in righteousness, man. Okay, Hebrews 2:10 said, "For it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons unto glory." You see, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through suffering, which is Yahweh Shai. Okay, and through Yahweh Shai, all right, he set a path of perfection, and we're following that path. And he's bringing many sons unto glory. Okay, that's why I say Hebrews 12. Okay, Yahweh Shai was made perfect in suffering, and we're on that same path to be made perfect through suffering. You see, that's why the truth is about sacrifice. Denying yourself. Okay, patience. You see, endurance, man. You see, making the adjustments. The Lord constantly is causing us to level up, man. Constantly causing us to level up, man. Get better. All right, because we're on the path to perfection. You see, Hebrews 12:2 said, "Looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High." So Yahweh Shai is the author and finisher of our faith. For the joy that was set before him endured the cross. Yeah, because that was his path to perfection, and that was set a path for us to be perfect. Okay, Yahweh Shai knew that his sacrifice would create a grace period in which we will be perfected. Okay, so we will be fit for rulership, to be joint heirs with him, to rule forever. That was the joy that was before Yahweh Shai, that his brethren would be perfected to rule with him forever. His people would be perfected, okay, and obedient forever, man. Okay, so right now Yahweh Shai is set down at the right hand, and we're on our path. Because we are going to the word author, which goes into what? A pioneer. Okay, but bless what they call a trailblazer. So Yahweh Shai, he set the path for us to be perfected, man. Okay, because in this new covenant, we're gonna have to be perfected to rule forever. You see? So let's go. Let's go here. When you go to Isaiah. All right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 48 and 10. It says, "Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction." You see, I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. You see, so we're going to be chosen in the furnace of affliction. Okay, so the Heavenly Father, he's doing, he's refining us, and we're going to be chosen out of the affliction, man. We're going to be beamed up in those chariots from what? Affliction. You see, and which is affliction is perfecting us, man. Even the hour of temptation, man, it's going to perfect us, man. Okay, the time of great betrayal, the time of loss. Okay, the time of great faith. You see, it's going to be perfecting us, man. Completely dying to this world and putting all our hope in the age to come. Okay, that's perfecting us, man. You see, and it's gonna be well worth it, man. The loss, so-called loss on this side, was really ain't no loss on this side, man. Okay, that's why scripture say what we got to come don't even compare to the suffering that's gonna be revealed to us on this side, man. On the other side, Okay, matter of fact, let's get there real quick in Romans. You see? So let's go to Romans chapter 8. In verse 16, it said, the Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So the Spirit within us bears witness with the spirit of this book, man. And there's no other people that's attached to this book like Israelites, man. There's no other people that's more serious minded about the scriptures than Israelites, man. Look what the world is on, man. Okay? The heathen is trying to establish a new world order. Esau and the rest of the heathen. Okay, they finna go into an all-out war over resources. Who's going to control a new system? They're locked into this new world order. Okay, they're talking about the heathens into a technocracy, man. Who's speaking about the throne of David? Israelites, man. Okay, who's speaking about everlasting righteous kingdom, man? Israelites, man. Okay, these niggas talking about programmable money, man. So there's only one group, all right, of people on the planet Earth, and it's not a thing of color. It's through the Spirit. Who's serious about the scriptures, man? Who's serious about thus said the Lord and prophecy, man? And teaching and breaking these things down. Okay? And there's a remnant of Israel that's doing that, man. It says, and if children, then heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Hamashiach. Okay? So just as Yahweh Shah was perfected through suffering, we're going through that process to be joint heirs with Hamashiach. If so be that we suffer with him, you see that we may also, all right, that we may be also glorified together. So we're going through a suffering to be perfected, to be glorified with Yahweh Shai, to rule with him in those new bodies and righteousness forever. Okay, the earth will never be plagued by sin again, because the ruler's going to be right forever. They're going to be righteous. We're going to be made incorruptible. It's going to be possible to corrupt us, man. It's going to be impossible, because no matter how good intentions a ruler has, okay, unless, all right, unless we're perfected, we will always be corrupted, man. No matter how good intentions we have in this flesh, unless we're changed, man, we will always be subjugated to be corrupted, man. That's why scripture speaks about us becoming incorruptible. Okay. You see, not only these bodies not being able to decay, okay, but our spirits being perfected, man, not subjugated to corruption and sin and wickedness and greed and the things that the Lord hates. Okay, so we're suffering and it's purging out all those unwanted qualities out of us, man. Okay, verse 18, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us, man. So the sufferings of this present time is perfecting us for eternity, man. This temporary suffering is perfecting us for an eternal rulership, man, in which we cannot be corrupted. Okay, in which we're going to rule the planet Earth in righteousness forever, man, and even beyond, but beginning with the earth. Because the earth, we haven't seen the potential of the planet Earth on the righteous rulership. But there's a whole nother glory to the planet Earth itself, man, under a righteous rulership. You see? So the glory that's getting ready to be revealed in us, man, these present sufferings are just preparing us. These temporary sufferings are just preparing us for an everlasting kingdom. Okay? And righteousness, man. That's why you go here. Let's get this. We can end it here. This 2 Corinthians chapter 4. All right, verse 16, it says, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, all right, these bodies, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. Okay, so this body that we in, okay, by default is perishing, man. Okay, but there's an inward man, all right, that the Lord is perfecting. It's constantly being renewed day by day, man. That's why day by day, man, it's a fight. Day by day, it's a grind to get better. That's why we can never, you know, be to the point to where we can't get better in this thing, man. You know, there's so much, within us that has to be worked on, man. We should be always occupied, whether we're, doing the work, laboring, okay, reading, even reading is still, we're reading not just to teach, man, but we're reading to you know, to work on the inward man. You see, we still get, cut to this day and have to make the change, have to make the adjustment, man. Okay, so we're constantly working on the inward man. It's renewed day by day. All right, until it's going, because it's on the path towards perfection. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment. You see that? This is a moment. So we're being chastened, we're being refined, okay, through affliction for a moment, working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Okay, so we're being chastened for a moment, afflicting for a moment, for eternal glory. Okay, eternal glory, man. And there's ruling the earth in righteousness forever. You see, the problem with the planet Earth, okay, it always begins at the rulership. Okay, but now the Lord is perfecting His people, beginning with the first fruits. All right, for what? For rulership. It says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen, for the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. The things are not seen, which are eternal, man. So the kingdom that the earth doesn't see, the righteous rulers that the earth doesn't see right now, that's what's going to be eternal, man. And we gotta believe it. You see, so that's the point. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edify once again and give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Okakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation, hopefully, shalom.